Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Born Political. It's Thursday night. We're live here in Groton, parts of New London, and actually in Stonington, I guess. Hopefully you're out there watching. We have a guest from the other side of the river. In the last few weeks, it seems like I'm going back to my roots and bringing the green and gold on this side of the river. Everyone's going to realize who this guest is when I announce it, because you probably see him in the paper all the time, and actually all the good things that are happening over in New London. Mayor Mike Passero, welcome over to the other side of the bridge. Welcome to Groton.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Joe. It was a great trip over the bridge.
Wasn't it? It's not that the GPS got you lost a little bit, even in Groton.
They let me through the checkpoint.
You got through the checkpoint. Yeah.
I had to drop your name, though.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
No, Mayor, you're pre-approved for Groton.
Yeah.
We do a lot together. So the show Born Political is less political and more about who the person is. My question that I usually ask, because most people don't know, I mean, we've been friends a long time, but were you born in New London? Are you from out of state?
No,
or where are you from?
Yeah, I'm a Navy brat.
Navy brat.
Yeah, and actually that was a big controversy when I ran the first time, because they were preparing some of the political literature, and it all said, born and bred in New London, because that's what everybody thinks, right?
Yeah.
I've been there my whole life, and I'm glad I caught it. Because
you weren't born in New London.
I wasn't born in New London. I was born in a military hospital in St. Albans, New York. St. Albans Medical Hospital in Bronx, New York. I was born in New York City.
So you and I have something in common. I was born in a military hospital in Würzburg, Germany, though.
Oh, all right. Well,
the
sister after me was born in Nice, France, because after I was born, my father was transferred to a destroyer in the Mediterranean. So, and in those days, the whole family followed the servicemen.
Yeah.
So they set my mother up with 3 kids in a villa in Nice, France. It wasn't a bad life. I mean, I don't remember any of it, but she used to talk about it. My mom used to talk about it all the time.
I didn't remember any of it either. I came here before I was even 1 year old. And my mother is the first person I interviewed on this show. You're the 41st show, Born Political. And my mother
was my number in the fire department.
That was?
Yeah.
But 41's a good, 41st district.
Yeah.
41's a good number. So she was my first guest, and once you start realizing, asking questions, my mom was 17 years old in Germany with 2 kids. Like it's hard to grasp like how scared or and she was a New London girl.
Yeah.
So
she had to be resourceful.
She was.
Think about overcoming all those obstacles.
Member of 9, family of 9. So you were born in New York, and how long did you stay in New York? You don't remember it?
Well, no, we went from I probably ended up in New London by the time I was 2 or 3. So I don't have any memories before living in New London.
You can say born and bred.
Yeah. You can't say. Actually, when I said lifelong, they changed it to lifelong, resident of New London.
Yeah.
There were people that picked away at that and said I was lying. So
listen, you're in the club.
Yeah. You get some snooty whalers who,
hey,
I wasn't born there, so you're not quite, people get that, they get sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I got stuck in a rut where I realized when we were running, I didn't go to college. I always worked and lived in New London my whole entire life, and I'd only leave for vacation, which would be once a year, maybe for 6 or 7 or 8 days, and you'd be back. And then if you missed a couple of years, I realized that I hadn't been out of New London or Groton now for like 2, 3, 4 years at a time. Where really, you drive to Waterford and eat dinner or something, but you're not traveling. I'm not the world traveler. It sounds like you kind of planted early, and then did you go to elementary in London?
I went to my mom was very strong Roman Catholic, so we did the parochial education.
So you're at St. Joe's.
So it's St. Joe's, yep. St. Joe's and St. Bernard's.
Yep.
And then at 18, I thought I would escape from New London. You know how you are when you're a teenager like that. So I picked the college about as far away as I could afford, which was Boulder, Colorado. So I went out there to go skiing for a year. Did my first
to go skiing.
Yeah, to go.
You majored in skiing.
I had a '67 VW Bug. I loaded my Irish Setter in there, everything I owned. Drove out to Boulder, Colorado for a year. I didn't have money to come back and forth, so there was no Christmas at home.
That sounds like that's a little bit of a hippie.
It was.
VW dog, Colorado.
And no plans and no money.
So did you go to college in Colorado?
Yeah, University of Colorado. Yeah, I did real well. I had a great year. I never got homesick or anything. But I came back that summer, and settled back into the New London routine, lifeguarding, sailing, the whole bit. And before I knew it, it was August and I had to head back to Colorado. And I said, yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, that was nice, but this is much nicer.
Yep.
And I went up to Conn College, matriculated at Conn College, and I've never left New London.
Never.
And I don't have any regrets.
No,
I don't have any regrets. I don't, we got it so good. What are you looking for?
I feel the same way about this area is unmatched. People will say, "Oh, what about San Diego, Joe? They got the weather." And my theory is this: if we had San Diego's weather, I'd be having to live 25 miles inland, and we'd be in traffic for 45 minutes to go 2 miles because weather does that. So we pay our penance in the winter, but then we get to go.
Not this winter.
Not this winter. No penance has been paid. So I'm still hoping the summer gets good because when you're blessed with a winter like we've had. So you graduate. Colorado was the 1 year. You went to Mitchell, and then
I went to Conn College.
Oh, you went to Conn College.
Yeah, and then I got my first break was really getting appointed to the fire department.
What do you mean by appointed?
Well, it's called being appointed to the fire department.
Oh, when you get hired.
When you get hired.
Okay, yeah.
So I got an appointment to the fire department in like 1984.
Yeah.
That was my big break because I had this job, and I was really attracted to that from lifeguarding because I had spent my youth lifeguarding at Ocean Beach for the state at Camp Harkness, and so the whole fire department thing attracted me. But that was a great opportunity, gave me a chance to get married, start a family, and also continue my education. So once I got settled in at the fire department, I went back to school. I got my master's degree at Conn College, and then I went to law school.
Yeah.
So
you went right to. Were you a lifeguard in high school too? Or
Yeah. You start at Ocean Beach. You could start lifeguarding around 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
At least back then. I
So
don't know
that
what
kind
it
of
is
fired you. There's anyone in your family that was a firefighter first, or you just?
No, actually, no.
What did your father do?
I wasn't.
Oh,
real,
your dad was in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't brought up in that tradition. It just seemed like a great job. I used to. What I did was after college, I worked construction, in the wintertime, and then went lifeguarding in the summertime. And every September it was time to find another job, another construction job.
Yeah.
And one September I was whining about that at the dinner table, and my mom told me it was just like a fluke. My mom said, "Well, the fire department's hiring. Why don't you apply there?" So I did. And
I never looked back. How many years did you spend at the fire department?
31 years.
31 years.
Yeah.
So you're a quitter. You quit now. You quit after 31
No,
years.
I didn't quit.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
I woke up in the firehouse. I think it was December 7th, 2015. I woke up in the firehouse at 7:30. Got off duty. Right.
Yep.
That night I got sworn in as mayor. So
Wow.
I never really, I haven't really retired. It's just going from one city job to another city job. I just had to get elected to get this job.
You got more hours, I think, when you took the mayor job.
Quite a lot, yeah.
I would say. You're always on the phone.
But
always...
you know what? I got to say, for a job I never anticipated, or had any ambition for, it's turned out to be the best job that I've ever had.
I got to tell you, I've been in politics for a while myself, and you can tell the people that dreamt about it being a politician when they were young, and then you can see the people that it kind of just they felt this need for service, or they felt like they could do something better. And there's not, to me, especially when you serve a city like that, to come through the ranks like that, there's an understanding that you'll have about the city that most people, like you have views of that garage door being open and you guys working on the truck and looking out. It's just a different perspective. And then the fact that it was started at Ocean Beach even. I mean, how many people do you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Ocean Beach is it's still a great tradition for the kids.
It is. It's something that
working down there. It's a lot of New London kids get their start working at Ocean Beach, in whatever job there, not necessarily lifeguarding, but a lot of jobs.
Yeah. Now, was your family political? So your dad's Navy.
Yeah.
My father doesn't even talk about politics. My mom was a more political. Was it talked about in your house, or was it different?
No, not really. We weren't political. Both my parents were Republicans.
Yep.
But they were sort of like Rockefeller Republicans, New York Republicans. My mom was from Queens, and my dad was from Stamford, Connecticut. And no, we didn't talk about it. I remember, the only thing I remember about that from my youth is, my father was a big Nixon fan, which didn't make him, it was, it didn't
Probably
make him.
disappointed at the end, but
Yeah, well, I remember rubbing his nose in it when he retired, when he resigned. That
Yeah.
famous. I think it was in June, one summer that Nixon resigned. But and that was the war in Vietnam and all of that was going on.
yeah, when people say, I mean, even looking at now, they say how divided our country is, and how it seems like we can't get back. We've been in positions before where.
Oh, it was. I mean, it
it's-
was much worse. I mean, apart from the insurrection.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst the country's ever had as far as political division, but maybe short of the Civil War.
Civil War might be.
But
the
but
top,
as far as social unrest, I mean, you had to live through 1968, right? I mean, that I don't know how old you were in 1968, but that
I wasn't old at all.
Yeah.
I was negative. 1971, I was born.
Oh, all right.
So
Well,
yeah, it's something that I was more of a peacetime kid. My whole entire life was, other than the Cold War a little bit, we had a little fear there, but really nothing of. I just never felt like we'd go to war. My whole childhood was us not being in war.
Yeah, I was only in 6th grade, but
Yeah.
transitioning from 6th to 7th grade, I guess. But that summer was very, impacted my life. I mean, with the riots at the Democratic Convention and all of that, it was Robert Kennedy's assassination. It was there was a lot going on.
I jumped around a little bit too, because normally we just kind of work up progression-wise, but because family-wise, I think a lot of your views and who you are, a lot to do with what position you were in your family, like oldest, youngest, how many kids were in the family, and I actually don't know how many brothers and sisters you have. I feel like I don't.
Yeah, I have. I'm one of 7. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Unfortunately, there's only 4 of us still alive. I lost one brother very young when he was 21, and he had a birth defect, a heart problem. So, but I've lost 2 sisters.
And I know one of them, and
Mary, my sister, who was just a great political.
She was
political
huge
supporter.
loss for New London, huge loss for everybody. I know your family too.
Yeah.
So, but one of 7. My mother's one of 9 from Mountain Avenue.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, back in the day, I think it was uncommon to only have 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, it was very common to have 6, 7, 8 children. Yeah.
So you guys
I have 2, and I don't know how my parents did it. I really don't.
I hear that so much.
We
and
weren't easy either. None of us.
Well, I think because my grandmother was more worldly. And we deal with people obviously with Community Speaks Out, and it's funny because they'll say, I just don't tell grandma, your loved one's addicted. I tell them, make sure it's the first one you tell, because usually the first one the kid will go to and try to get money out of.
Yeah.
And then I remind them that, my grandmother had seen and birthed 8, 9 kids, and seen them go through a whole bunch of stuff. They're ready for that.
Yeah.
The grandma and grandpa can handle those tough questions and the bad news. They've heard it already. And that was my theory on it, telling the kids. So you get elected mayor. Now you obviously ran while you were a firefighter, because you were still in the fire company.
Well, and I was on the city council as a firefighter.
City council.
So I served 3 terms on the city council as a firefighter.
And those are 2-year terms, city council.
Those are 2-year terms. Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked out all right. I mean, people were skeptical. I was skeptical, actually.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I stepped up and volunteered to run for the city council.
Yeah.
I was recruited to run, and it was actually Peg Curtin. You know Peg. Peg's very hard to say no to.
That's Liz Duart, by the way, in Groton.
Okay. Yeah.
She recruited me for council. So you got pegged.
Yeah. No, I would not be. I would not be mayor today if Peg hadn't twisted my arm into running for the city council. I'd see what year that was. I gotta think back at what year it was. I think it was like 2008 or 2007, because it was not on my radar at all.
So you hadn't served at any capacity
No,
politically. That was your first.
I always for years I was on the Democratic Town Committee.
Yeah.
But that was fine. That's all. I didn't mind helping with campaigns and being involved to that extent. But having my name out there and having to campaign and having my name on the ballot, it was nothing I ever considered.
And putting your name on the ballot. Well, most people, they assume that we have no feelings. It happens to police officers a lot too. I think they go to their job and people say, well, they're professionals and they should just do X, Y, and Z, and they forget that there's human there.
Yeah.
And I think they forget that with politicians. because there's a lot of things that get said when you're in a campaign, and people that say it a lot of times don't know you. Because I'd be surprised to read that someone hates me, and I'm like, how do you hate me? Like,
Yeah, right.
we never hung out. You don't know me. But it's tough because putting your hat in the ring, especially today, means a lot more, and especially in the city of New London. I think where, there are it's a little city, but it's got every single problem that a big city has. Every single little I shouldn't say problem, because there's a lot of love in New London too. So there's a lot of passion, and it comes out. Like, so you've been in this. You just filed, right? And you're running for a third term,
Right.
which that would be 12 years as mayor of a city, which is, I thank you for your. I mean, I'm a New London guy. I think,
I'll tell you what, it's amazing how fast it's gone by.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot done, but I don't look at it in terms of how far we've come. I sit here today and I look at how far I still need to get to accomplish what I set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I can do it in another 4 years, but I do have another 4 years in me.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get up every day, just anxious to get to work, anxious to get back to solving some of the challenges, and and keeping things going. And if you look at it, I was on the city council when my predecessor announced the deal for the United States Coast Guard Museum. That was 2014.
Yep.
And we're just breaking ground. We're just doing the site work.
Yep.
That museum's not going to open until late 2024, 2025. I'd at least like to see that through. The community rec center, has been a dream for the city long before I was involved. But
when I was a kid.
But yeah, right. Once the YMCA closed, we had nothing, and we've always felt like, hey, why don't we deserve to have a YMCA or some indoor recreation, and we don't.
No.
We don't have anything. And that's one of the things. Once I did run for city council, that was there's two goals I had, two challenges that I wanted to solve, which was getting a rec center built, and the waterfront. So the rec center has broken ground. That's underway finally. I only spent probably over 12 years on that.
Yeah. And people don't understand what it takes. I don't think it's. I mean, again, even with the state pier and there was things that went wrong with that, and all they do is look at the mistakes. If it's a private industry, they say, God, why can't they run that like a private industry? What they got to remember, and I've been in private industry my whole life, doing construction, and it always doesn't go well.
Yeah.
There's cost overruns, there's things that happen.
It's easy to be an armchair quarterback.
Absolutely.
It's easy to be the guy sitting in the chair in the arena. But, and I think it was Teddy Roosevelt's quote, which I'm not going to try to pull up, but, it's a quote about the man in the arena. It's easy to criticize that guy, but he's taking the risk. He's trying to get it done. You're just sitting there judging him.
Yeah.
And a lot of people it's easy to throw stones basically at somebody else's efforts.
And I don't know if you agree with this, but in my mind, I mean, I'm a New London guy from when I was young, and I used to like the.
But were you born there?
No. Yeah, I guess I can't say. And now Kenny Edwards was on the show 2 weeks ago. He doesn't see any green and gold coming out of me anymore. The aura is completely gone because I've been in Groton too long. That's what he said on the show. But
Oh boy.
I still when I read the newspaper, I'm always checking the London scores, and I followed Fitch when my son was playing.
By the way, the Lady Whalers just won.
I knew that.
Championship. Second year in a row.
What an
awesome
amazing.
team.
I mean, when I went to school. Back, I mean, in girls' sports in general has grown leaps and bounds. I mean, before when you watched a girls' basketball game when we were there, it was a bunch of young ladies that really hadn't played much.
Yeah.
I think these girls are playing AAU every day because I mean, I wouldn't want to play against them.
No. I think they could beat a lot of boys' teams.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable athletes. I love watching them. But again, I think what my point was, and I don't want to forget. Because it was a town manager in city council. And once I went to Hartford and saw you up there all the time, saw that you're an elected mayor that's being held to the fire by votes, I kind of, especially for New London, I don't know if that's the fit for Groton. I think that we're still, the town manager and council thing, we're still suburb enough where I think that works for us. But the city, and having somebody that's advocating, someone that just loves their city, loves the town. That's the one common thing I have seen being in Hartford. Every representative thinks their town's the best. A lot of people that run have this feeling about their city, their town, and it shines out of you. You love every single section in London. I don't care what part of town you're in. You're under the bridge. You love under the bridge. You live, everywhere. And I'm not saying that tooting your horn, but it's what I see.
Well, that's actually, I'm sort of proud of the fact that we got that done. And swear to God, I did not have myself in mind as being mayor when we did it.
Yep.
But my first term on council was when we did the Charter Revision Commission, and we had the charter rewritten to change to the elected mayor form of government. And because cities have elected mayors, that's how cities run.
Yep.
New London was sort of an oddity that it had a city manager, and the city manager was insulated from any accountability. My whole life, not the people who were in the job. They were good people.
Yeah.
But, they generally held the job for, you say, I'm running for a third term, and so it'll be 12 years when I'm done. But the last city manager was 16 years, and the one before that was 24 years. I mean, and these people were all they had to do was keep 4 votes of 7 people on the city council, and they kept their job. So it wasn't really accountable to the electorate at all. And it was just a strange way to run a city, and not very responsive, really, to.
And you looked over at your partner, who's Keith Hedrick now, and he's elected.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know if that was a little bit of a blueprint or because it does. I think it, and again, because there's a big population in a small area, controlling a lot of real estate, and especially the city here in Groton, they have Pfizer, EB. It's just a special area.
Yeah.
And I think New London not to have it. And again, when you guys were first talking about doing it, in my mind, like, well, you should want a professional, right? And there's a lot of emotion that goes with politics. There's a lot of.
I have buildings full of professionals.
Absolutely.
It's very important for the person elected mayor to have professionals.
And you have what a staff you have.
But the mayor is a political figure.
It is.
He's the person that represents every single non-professional person living in the city of New London. The residents of New London are not municipal professionals.
Yeah.
Right. They just know what they want from their city.
Yeah.
And that's my role. I mean, I'm there to tell the professionals around me, this is what the people in New London want. This is what they expect, and the professionals around me get it done.
Yeah. Is there something that you're most proud of? I mean, you've had to me a ton of accomplishments over there.
It'd be like, you're asking me to choose my favorite child.
Yeah.
I really can't, because there's so many accomplishments, and I'll tell you what, I'm not the person that's going to take credit for them, because I could not have done it. It was definitely a team, not one person on that team could have affected any of the change that we've made, but we've made a lot of changes. I mean, just the situation at the Thames River Apartments.
Yep.
And I know that's tough for some people to accept, because we had generations of
I grew up
New London.
I grew up in the shadow of that. I was Huntington Street.
Okay.
And it was never the best living condition, just because of the design. I mean, when they look at it now in retrospect and realize that that many people together in that kind of that setting and that situation, it was doomed to fail.
From the day it opened, you could not solve the challenges that those buildings had, the crime, just the facilities. There was never enough money to maintain the structures. It was just, so getting each one of those 35 families a portable housing voucher.
Yeah.
Housing's, when we did this 2 or 3 years ago, housing was not in the news as much as it is today.
Yeah.
But it was a heavy lift even then. So relocating each one of those families got a portable housing voucher. Each one of those families got to choose where they wanted to live.
Yeah.
They got to sign off on the apartment that was rented or a house that was rented for them. And we got them all situated in the community they wanted to live in. They, a lot of them stayed in New London, but they didn't have to. They could have went in any community they wanted. I'm proud of that. And then the property is going to be reused, put to a new use for what it's appropriate for. It's in the middle of this commercial industrial district, right under the highway, right under the Gold Star Bridge. It's not a place where people live.
Yeah, and they talk about a lot of the cities, because I was on the housing committee, and people are close to bus lines, which are close to highways, which are close to, metropolitan areas, and they're breathing in air that's not as healthy as the air just over in Waterford, not as healthy as the air just because of where they are. And in particular, that bridge, when it's what you don't see that's the problem. And I think, environmentally, you're under an area where, boats pull in. Like you said, it's to me what's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be industrial. Who knows? It could be a.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do it. It's actually going to be used now as part of the state pier to finish off this. So all of the construction trailers, and there's, 30, 40 of them.
Yep.
All of those trailers now have to come off of that site as they're finishing it.
Yep.
And so they're all going to be moved. So we've leased it to the construction manager there, the state pier job. And they're going to be using that for their, for their lay down area, for all their trailers to finish the job. So we have a lease now for the next year. So the city's going to be making some good revenue on that. And at the same time, we're going to be marketing the property and try to find the highest and best use for that property. And we're optimistic that it's going to work out. But the other thing that I'm really proud of is the housing that we're building.
Wow.
And
There's a lot of it.
I remember my first few days in the office. There was really nothing going on in the city. And we were pounding the pavement to get developers interested.
Yep.
And I remember the day I met the AR Builders, right, which is the first building that was done, and then all these other developers that have come since. The building on Howard Street is now just getting done. So we have, and there's plenty of projects that are either in design stage, getting ready to break ground, or are planned. So we have tons of projects in the pipeline, and we're building an inventory of housing units that the city never had.
Yep.
So there was a whole segment of people that didn't have the type of housing they needed. They might have wanted to live in the city, but there wasn't anywhere for them to live.
And now they're coming back.
And now they're coming. I mean, certainly we proved there's 203 units that are opening up on Howard Street within the next month. They'll be leasing out that building, and there's 600 people on the waiting list.
That's amazing.
And that just shows you what the demand is for that market rate housing. And there are some people that are resentful saying, you're building market rate housing. How about affordable housing? Well, we tried.
Yeah.
We are building affordable housing. We've had some great projects, the St. Mary's School conversion, working with Echo.
That's affordable, and it's down on the bus line.
And it's supportive housing too.
Yeah.
Echo, we've got a great project with Echo on Bayonet Street. And we tried to get that project financed on Coleman Street at the old Edgerton School. That was going to be great family, subsidized, deeply subsidized family housing. We could not get CHFA to finance the project. You cannot build subsidized housing without CHFA, without the state support. And the state
I'm going to have to bring you back on because we got only 30 seconds left.
Oh,
listen,
right. I could go on and on and on.
I know you could because the love for your city comes through. And to me, from the outside looking in, the work that's been done, I mean, you deserve another term. I hope that everyone in New London understands that. This is we're out of time. I got to head out. So maybe Passero will come back. I'd love to have you back again. Good luck in this coming election.
Thank you, Joe.
You got my support. I can't say vote.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome.